Dude, I want that job.
All right, well, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Dude, I Want That Job. I'm the host, Kyle Kindle, and today I have the pleasure of connecting with an old high school friend. He has gone to Texas Tech University. He's worked with Juice Plus. He's done strategic, emotional intelligence work, and now and still is he's working at Collabera. Did I get that right, Hunter?
Yeah, you got it, man.
Cool, man. Well, hey, introduce yourself, dude, and
First time I ever had a bio like that, just read out.
hey, I
on
do the
podcast.
best. I do the best Instagram bios.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
Let's go.
No, it's this is gonna be a moment for us to catch up. We were just talking about, man, like I'm so excited just to catch up with you. And I'm glad that we can take this as an opportunity to do that. But you know, I'm no one special. I guess I could start out with that. My name's Hunter. I grew up in South Houston, Texas, and went over to Texas Tech University, graduated with business marketing, you know, had some fun, met some friends, and moved up to Dallas to start my first job at Collabera. And in between there, I was doing things with certain companies like Juice Plus, which is a whole food nutritional supplement company. I was doing music. I was learning and practicing emotional intelligence development, all those things. And so right now I'm still at the first job that I got outside of college at Collabera. And that's where I'm at today, living in North Dallas, Texas with my wife, and you know, just living life and trying to do the best I can.
So, Hunter, that's your background. Congratulations on actually getting married, by the way. I haven't really even talked to you since you're a married man now. So
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Congrats on that. How'd you guys meet?
Actually, due to the nature of this podcast, that's a perfect question, man. We met at my first job at Collabera. Okay. My wife, her name's Tatiana, and she was working there at Collabera for, I want to say, close to 2 years before I showed up for my first day. And I mean, right then and there, man, she was something special. I knew just easy on the eyes for sure. It wasn't too much longer until I was like, you know, I gotta find out a little bit more about this woman. So there's a whole story behind that and how she's a little bit older than me, so she kind of denied me the first few times.
Hey, that's all right.
But hey, I had that persistence, and she kind of learned about me over time, and we got closer. And so yeah, that's one of my I would say one of my proudest decisions is going after her, man, because she's changed my life, and it's been amazing. We actually hit our 2-year anniversary on the 6th of April.
Yeah.
And just celebrated both of our birthdays. So yeah, man, it's awesome.
Congrats, man.
And congrats to you, my dude, because I know you've been in the married life, but you just had a child, and that's huge. Yeah. Congratulations.
Little Nora C, man, dude, it's crazy. I mean, if you saw my Instagram, dude, she's picking stuff up now and crawling, and you put her in one of those little ridey cart things with like with her feet. Dude, she is just moving. It's crazy within 8 months life. Like, like I was giving her a shower tonight, and compared to my arms, it's nuts to see how small they really are and they grow up to be.
Dude, I can't even imagine.
It's fascinating, and I can't wait for you to share that time with your wife when it comes. So back to Collabera. For those people who don't know what it is, my brother worked for Collabera. I know it's like a recruiting company, I think, but I really don't know much about it, dude. Like, do you mind explaining even what Collabera is?
Absolutely, dude. I want to give, the usual pitch that we usually give to people we're introducing it to potential customers. And then I want to give a little bit of background if I can.
Yeah.
So Collabera is a global leader in total talent solutions. And we focus on engineering within data and AI, cloud, and architecture. And so what we do is we work with, on a national level, companies like Microsoft, Apple, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and we deliver to them different solutions, different IT solutions. So whether that's on-demand talent, and that's kind of that recruitment staffing piece you were just referring to. We also offer actual engineering solutions. So we have our own internal teams that are filled with developers and architects who can develop our own solutions, whatever that may be, deliver that through a service or a product. And then we also have a training solutions arm where we are taking live instructor-led classes and certifying development teams on particular tools. Maybe we're upskilling particular teams to get up to skill or up to the par with whatever the current market is. Or we have kind of like a hire, train, deploy program where we're taking college graduates with usually IT backgrounds and putting them through these intense 8-week boot camps, training them on specific skill sets that our clients are demanding these days, and then placing them onto the client site through projects and having them work and eventually turn into full-time employees of that particular client. So that's what we do in a nutshell. And we've had so much evolution over the past 5 to 10 years, even while I've been here for a little bit over 4 years, where you could say, 10 years ago, we were much more focused on that on-demand talent piece, that staffing recruitment piece. But we've really built up our engineering solutions and training solutions arms to where, that's kind of like just one of the 2 or 3 things that we focus on. And we do it really well, but there's also that engineering side that we focus heavily on, and we're just expanding and growing like crazy within that space. And I can talk a whole lot more about, specific scenarios with me and my personal clients, but that's what we do in a nutshell.
Dude, that blew my mind. Like I was expecting just like, oh, it's a recruitment company for maybe a cult,
That's what most people think, to be honest.
But no, that's extremely extensive and pretty cool, man. I don't know what side my brother did of that, but
well, most people when they come in, there's a lot of different routes that you can take. But what I'm assuming that your brother did was, we have a program where if you're looking for something like corporate recruiting or sales, there's a general path that we take, which is our associate account management program, is what we call it. Okay. And what that really is just a training period of anywhere from 6 to 8 months or so, where you're learning the entire life cycle of what we do from a recruitment perspective. So you are acting as literally a recruiter while you're undergoing sales training and basically building up and polishing your skills to get to the point where you transition into sales or corporate recruitment, or maybe another path. And so I'm assuming your brother did the same thing, where he kind of started off on that recruitment piece, maybe didn't like it so much. A lot of people don't, I'm gonna be honest. It's a tough gig. I didn't really like it as much. I had to push through just to try and meet that end goal, which was sales for me. But I'm assuming that that's what he started out with.
Yeah, that sounds almost identical to what he did. So with where you're at now, let's even back up. What was your first job, or what got you into this mentality or in this sphere of giving you the idea to do what you do now? Like, when was it? In high school, college? Like, are you still trying to figure it out?
It's all the above.
Yeah.
When I was in my final courses at Texas Tech, I think it was a personal selling course that I was taking in the summer. And as part of that course, they required us to do what they call a ride along. And we had to go seek out anyone in any particular industry that was relatively successful and introduce ourselves to them, let them know why we're reaching out to them, and basically try to get them to agree to allow us to shadow them and ride along with them for an entire day or two to learn what they do and help them out. So I'm gonna be honest with you, I cannot remember how it was I decided on this particular industry, but I remember reaching out to, Lubbock is a funny town because it's got 100,000 plus people. It's got this big, massive university, but it just all feels so much still like a small town. And so I'm trying to find, things, what am I going to do with my future here? And, there's not a whole lot to get into in the town of Lubbock, Texas, right? So, I'm looking around and I find this 55-year-old salesperson who apparently has been doing this for 20 years, doing real well in his company. but basically this was I think it was called Express Employment. And this is the real, like, when most people think about staffing, this is what they think about. They think about, oh, so you're the type of person who goes and recruits people for, administrative roles. You go recruit other salespeople. You go recruit people who are going to do stuff in a call center. And that's basically what this guy did. He would go around door to door, knock on companies, small businesses, and say, hey, we find talent in the area, and we get it to you if you need it. And this is what he did, man. He would walk around, knock on doors, pass out marketing materials. And this was my first glimpse at the staffing world.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm sure as hell I ain't gonna do this. I knew from that day, I was like, this is not for me. But the idea of helping other people get jobs was actually a little bit interesting. So I kind of let that be on the wayside for a while. And then I went to my job fair, and I'm talking to, all the usual suspects, the oil and gas companies, the big, whatever, all that stuff that we as
big
college
tech
graduates. Yeah, exactly. And there's this booth over there, obviously, by the name of Collabera. And this guy pulls me over. He goes, hey, I want to talk to you. What are you looking for these days? And I told him my experience with staffing, and he starts laughing at me. And I'm thinking, like, why are you laughing at me, man? This is supposed to be like a little interview thing, right? You're supposed to be selling me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Anyways, he starts laughing. He goes, I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing at you, man. I just wanted to let you know that the way you explained it is nothing of what we do. I was like, okay, so tell me what you do. And he starts to explain about this world of technology that, all of us are, I'm looking for my phone, it's up here.
Yeah.
All of us are so exposed at an early age in our generation with the iPhone, the computers, all of this stuff. But most of us, unless we take an active interest into technology, we don't really know how this stuff works, where it comes from, who builds it. We just know that, Apple provides my phone. Coca-Cola brings me some drinks. I'm not drinking Coca-Cola, but we got some prebiotic soda over here.
Hey, bring it on, man. I got the Trader Joe's sparkling water, man. I'm with you.
There you go. We know that, Microsoft has these programs we use, but it wasn't until I started at Collabera, that I started going into these companies, going into the Microsoft headquarters, going into the headquarters of Ericsson, the biggest multinational telecom service company in the world, and talking to these technical leaders and these engineers and these developers and asking them, what's going on in your world? What challenges are you facing? What are you focused on? What keeps you up at night? And them telling me all of the stuff that they have going on behind the scenes that gets to the point where, okay, so you're telling me that this application that I'm using on my phone every single day, your team develops it? Cool, tell me more. Or, Coca-Cola, all right, I see people drinking that all the time, but you're telling me that there's 15 different engineering teams who are focused on the website right now? Tell me more. So it just got me interested right then to be like, okay, so I can really get polished as a sales professional and learn something kind of new that I had no idea about. That's what got me interested and got me started at Collabera, really.
Huh. Yeah, you're right. You don't think about that, man. Like when you think of a huge corporation, how many teams are on that corporation? Like, for example, the marketing team probably has, oh, dude, I'm just spitballing numbers, but like for Coke, probably like 1,000 people worldwide.
Oh,
for like, like that are just in marketing.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how many people make up these little teams that make up corporation. So
it was just cool to see the day-to-day use cases of like, oh, I just got to know the technical lead of this team that actually, creates the features and the enhancements on, the whatever app that I'm using every single day. Like it was cool and interesting to get that exposure into that type of stuff. And as you know, I mean, technology is such a huge cost center of any enterprise, any major corporation. So much goes down there, man. It's a whole different world.
Well, dude, I mean, with that, I think it's the right time to be talking about this blockchain stuff, dude, because I feel like this goes hand in hand with that. Dude, I've been diving into that stuff lately on my off time, or even sometimes when I'm working. During lunch, I'll be researching, the Ethereum coin or the V chain or blockchain. And
Sure.
I didn't understand the first thing about it. A couple months ago, I was like, crypto, waste of time. Like, what do you mean I can't hold the coin? It's back to the generational thing right now. I think right now, and we'll talk about NFTs, but you have kids buying like Michael Jordan rookie card NFTs because there's only one of 100, and you put it on a hard drive and you never see it again. But
Yeah.
no, it's incredible, man. And I think to see just where the technology aspect of it's all going is just beyond me. So you want to explain a little bit about blockchain? I know you're extremely versed in that area,
I definitely wouldn't
more
say
than me.
extremely versed. And I don't like to, talk too much about things that I don't know much about.
Sure.
But I would say that I have spent the past, 4 or 5 months diving as deeply as I can into this space in general, because I got so inspired and excited about it. And I was looking at crypto back in 2017. And I was trying to do those little investments, but back then, man, it wasn't as user friendly. There was so much friction and things going on in the market to where I got burned. I was not educated enough. I was trying to do things I didn't know what to do with, and I got burned. I got, the rule of investing is don't ever put more in than you're willing to lose. Well, I lost what I had put in, and that kept me away from it for a few years until the end of 2019, early 2020. And things started becoming more mainstream. Now everybody's like, okay, crypto, if you don't at least have a few bucks and a Dogecoin or something like that, like, what are you doing, right?
Oh, dude, it's the best. I talk to people at work, bro, kids who have never invested or people who would never even invest.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, man, I've been really following the crypto market really strongly lately. I'm like, nice. I'm like, dude, like, what are you invested in? Bro, I've Doge, but I've been in it since it was at 25. I'm like, dude, that was 2 weeks ago.
25. Yeah. That's
25 cents. Like,
yeah.
I'm saying, all of a sudden people are like these crypto experts now because they have Dogecoin and 0.001 of Ethereum.
Yeah, that's always going to happen, and it's got its pros and its cons for sure. But overall, I feel excitement when I see, especially super young kids, get interested in that. And I think a lot of it is the hype about, oh, I just made $100, $1,000, $5,000, whatever it is. But if we can take a small percentage of those kids who are exploring that and get them even more interested on the technology behind this cryptocurrency, it's gonna do so much for what's to come. And so with blockchain, to answer your question, that's what I'm most interested in, because the cryptocurrency piece is just one small aspect of what all of this is capable of. And so when we think about blockchain, I like to keep it super stupid and simple and just call it what it is, which is a distributed digital ledger, which, if that's still not layman terms enough, let's look at a database. Let's look at an Excel sheet. So we got an Excel sheet, and we know that we're throwing a party next Saturday. You and me, we got to invite all the parents' kids, all our friends. So we're going to make a bunch of columns with all the names of the people coming to the party. There's another column saying whether they're coming or not, whether it's pending. There's another column that's saying, oh, here's your +1, whatever it is. Take that Excel sheet with all these columns, put them up with the different rows of attributes, and then make it immutable, make it not changeable, right? Make it transparent, and you basically have a blockchain digital ledger. That's all it is. It's a bunch of lists of transactions and rows and columns that are unchangeable and that are transparent. And so now we have so much and so many projects that are breaking off from this idea, from this technology. And what I'm getting involved in, which you and I have briefly talked about, is something that is just blowing my mind right now, just every single day. And I'm happy to talk more about it, but that's kind of like the general introduction of it, I guess.
Dude, bring it on, man. We're here just talking, bro. I mean, if you want to explain more of what you're going, dude, I would love to hear it, man.
Yeah. So there's this company out in Austin, Texas, and it's called CrowdPoint Technologies. And the owner is someone who spent 10 plus years, you could relate to this, 10 plus years in the Army, Actually, I believe he was airborne infantry for about 10 or so years. And then he moved into out of the Army. He went to the private space and started doing private military contracting for the CIA, for the for the Department of Defense, and many other groups. And then he eventually went to the public sector and started doing consultation work in cybersecurity for your IBMs, your Microsofts, your, et cetera. Sure. He was doing all this cybersecurity analytics work, and then eventually created a couple of his own companies, sold those off eventually for, 150 million dollars. Smart guy.
Oh yeah.
But everything he was doing was building up to what he's got going now, which is CrowdPoint Technologies. Okay. Basically, they have created, here's where it gets good. They have created a big data analytics fueled, blockchain enabled digital marketplace. So what does that really mean? Let's break it down real simple in pieces. We got big data. Big data, for folks who don't know, is just every data that you can imagine. You, Kyle, are a white male living in a certain geographic area. You're a certain age. You have a certain income in your household. You have particular purchasing habits. Okay, those are just some of the data that you make up, right? And this data is only valuable because of you. So the internet is the internet, right? But the internet is not the internet without us. If we're not participating in it, what's the value of it? It just sits there and does nothing, right? Exactly. So it's the same thing with data. Data is only valuable if it's us participating in it. And so now what this company is doing is essentially allowing a marketplace to connect buyers and sellers. So in a very layman's terms, you can think of Amazon or Amazon dropshipping, right? Where you are having a host of products and services on this platform, and anybody can get into this platform and buy products and services. That's great. We already have that. Cool. But let's mix this big data piece in there. And when I say big data, I'm talking about the type of big data that you and the barbershop across the street and the mail office across the other street, they don't have access to this type of big data. Only your Googles, your IBMs have access to this type of big data, right? They've got the technology, they've got the massive data warehouses. So now they've got massive pools of information that the small and medium-sized businesses never had access to. And if they ever wanted access to it, they would have had to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that they don't have to get it. And even when they got it, what are they going to do with it? They don't quite know. So the big data piece allows this platform to give to the small business and the medium-sized business access to these massive amounts of data. But let me take it a step further. It's not only your geographic area, whether you're a male or female, what income you have in your house. It's your purchasing patterns. It's your browsing history. It's your location preferences. It's what are you doing on a day-to-day basis every day for the past 30 years on the internet, which is almost everything we do, right? And it's taking this information and it's here's where it gets really good. I'm gonna tie in this piece that I know you want to get into. It takes all this data and it does something. It creates a digital asset of this data. And what is a digital asset? None other than an NFT.
Yeah, bro.
So if we can take these categories of data, of purchasing behaviors, of browsing histories, of individual identities, you are you and you are unique by the creator of God. And so am I.
Yeah.
And so I and my purchasing behaviors and my internet browsing history and my everything creates this data that is very unique. And it can be created into a digital asset that becomes an NFT. Now, what happens when it comes an NFT? Let's go to the second piece, blockchain enabled. It becomes private, it becomes protected, and it becomes more powerful, better performance. So now we have this digital marketplace where these small and medium-sized businesses have now leveled the playing field. They have access to massive amounts of leads of data that only the IBMs and Googles and Microsofts of the world had before. And what's happening is, let's say I am, I don't know, a kumquat farmer, right? And I'm farming kumquats, and I want to connect with people who want to buy my kumquats.
Yeah.
Well, whether I'm in Boston, Botswana, or Bhutan, I can access this digital blockchain marketplace and instantly be connected with every single person who's already looking for that type of stuff. Rather than spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on SEO, Google AdWords, trying to drive traffic to my landing pages, I'm being connected immediately with the folks who are already searching for my type of product. And so this allows a complete leveling of the playing field for small and medium-sized businesses to get direct, hyper-focused traffic to their products and services. And again, it opens up the entrepreneur. It opens up the best man wins, best woman.
Absolutely.
It's no longer, hey, I'm Twitter over here and I don't agree with what you're saying, so we're going to kick you off the platform. Doesn't work like that when you're on a blockchain anymore. Oh, you have a political preference I don't agree with? Yeah, we're going to remove you from this platform. Doesn't work anymore.
But do you not think that like Twitter and Facebook, that they're going, like, I feel like, is there no way that they could like corner that market or regulate it? Because that's my biggest fear, dude. Is big tech, obviously, as is I think most Americans or most just people in general.
Yeah.
Like, so it's complete. Like, I'm just trying to figure and learn all this out still too. So it's completely encrypted as is a like a real Bitcoin, to where it's like password protect. Like, I don't get how it's secure. What secures it?
Well, let's keep it simple, right? So before the Facebooks and the Twitters of the world, we had central authorities. So for instance, whenever you think about a bank and I want to sell you a home,
okay,
you can't just buy a home from me, right? Who else has to be involved? The bank, for one, the brokerage firm, right? A real estate agent, right? All those things. And that's, we do that on purpose. We do it because we have trust in our bank, trust in our real estate agent, trust in our brokerage to validate these documents that are going through each other, validate the money that's being, transacted. And we feel good about that. When you moved into the Twitter and Facebook boom, you moved into what was called a distributed network, where now you and me, Kyle, can share text, images, videos, memes to each other. And you can then go share that with another person and another person, and we can freely do that on our own computers. So it's distributed. And yes, there's still a central authority, AKA your Facebook, your Twitter. Because if they decide whatever you're sharing is not what they want on their platform, ultimately they can block it, stop it, and take you off. What the blockchain does is now evolves it to a whole nother level. So now we've removed the central authority. There's no head seat. There is no Twitter, Facebook head saying, I like this, I don't like this, let me keep it, let me take it off. You have all the power as equally as I have all the power. And you and I can transact with each other if we choose to. And the technology behind the blockchain, which is that cryptography, that hashing, that mathematical super equations that are being solved to validate what we're doing, is taking care of that central authority piece for us. So if I want to sell a house to you in 10 years, possibly, I don't need a bank, I don't need a brokerage, I don't need a real estate agent. All I need is a blockchain to say, here's a smart contract. And I want to sell my house for this price under these conditions. And you, as the buyer, are going to accept those conditions if you choose to. And as soon as all the conditions are met through the smart contract, the blockchain technology does it for us. it validates that we're meeting these certain conditions, and then it sets up that money to be transacted instantaneously once those conditions are met. So now we're putting our trust into the validation of the technology behind blockchain rather than putting into a human being in a bank, at a brokerage, or whatever it may be. So that's what it is, man. In 10 years, you might buy a house from someone privately on the blockchain and not have to worry about all those intermediary fees. And so coming back to the example I had for the small and medium-sized business, think about the intermediary cost that they have and watch that go from here to this. And what does that do to your profit margin? It does this to this.
Yeah.
And that's just one piece of what these guys are doing over at, and there's other companies that are doing things like what I just explained.
Sure.
But there's a whole nother, piece to what they're trying to do. But that's kind of the general aspect to answer your question about why blockchain. Yeah.
So no, I'm definitely gonna put that link when I submit this podcast in there for people to check out. So like, are you trying to get employed by them? Are you trying to invest? Like, what is your role? What are you trying to have your role be in that?
Yeah, absolutely. So they literally have only started their marketing launch like the beginning of this week.
Okay.
Before that, they were keeping everything as hush hush as possible. They've already had investors. They've already made their fundings. They don't necessarily need someone like me to invest.
Sure,
I can't even invest the amount that they would actually need to even entertain that. But months ago, they were accepting investors. But right now, what they're most focused on is getting their army of digital soldiers. And what I mean by that is resellers, distributors, and technicians. So when you have a marketplace, you're going to need folks who can help by reselling these products online. So just like on Amazon, how when you type in, I don't know, swimming microwaves, there you go. You type in microwave onto Amazon search bar, and the first 3 or 4 products that show up, they all look identical.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're all just like 4 different for the same products, but someone is behind that link trying to get you to click on that link instead of the other one, right? So that's the same type of situation where you have multiple resellers who are reselling products that they believe in and gaining a commission from each time that a product is sold. Now, you also need distributors who are going to distribute the actual products. They're going to negotiate with the manufacturers on the other side and or bring in their own products to a platform. So let's say I am a microwave manufacturer. I could sign up into the CrowdPoint platform as a distributor, bring that product into the platform, and now I'm going to be trying to connect with resellers who are interested in reselling my product on their own individual, unique NFT landing pages. And what's really cool about this company, honestly, is, man, their whole mindset is abundance in terms of we want to give absolutely everything because we know in the end how the universe works. When we give, we get.
Oh, okay. Absolutely, dude. I believe that, man. And for everyone who you want to explain real quick, just there's probably a lot of people on here. My mom's definitely listening. Hey, mom, how's it going? I know she's going to be probably watching and listening to this podcast and be like, what is an NFT? So an NFT, and correct me if I'm wrong, is called a non-fungible token. And pretty much for all those kids out, little kids and stuff listening, or anyone who plays Fortnite or any of these video games know, if you buy the skins in the game to get the better guns, the cooler looking characters, those essentially are NFTs. It's a ledger, it's like an online ledger or currency that you use real fiat or US dollars to purchase.
Absolutely, man. It's an asset, something that's tradable, something that's sellable, something that's buyable. So I think when we talk about NFTs, it's important to discuss it's non-fungible. So what does fungible mean in that sense? So fungible means not unique, something that's very similar to something else. So let's say let's say you had a blue bowling ball and I had a red bowling ball. And I just thought that, I'm more of a blue bowling ball type of guy. So, hey, why don't we trade my red bowling ball for your blue
I know what
bowling
you meant.
ball.
Yeah.
And we do that. It's not unique enough, right? That's more fungible instead of non-fungible. So fungibility, let's talk about our dollars, right? Very similar in sense what they are. But when we talk about non-fungibility, it's very unique. So it's a very unique product. And, we're talking about these things. I think SNL even talked about NFTs a few weeks ago. And so more and more people are like, what the heck is this? So you mentioned a great example, skins in a video game. If you want to buy, if any parent is listening and has a kid that plays video games, guarantee you within the past 3 months, they've given their kid $20-$30 to buy a weapons upgrade or
Even on mobile games,
an outfit upgrade. Yeah, absolutely. What was the first one? Farmville or something like that?
dude. I bet we could even say an NFT is on Instagram buying a certain filter. That's technically. I mean, the best way I can explain it is if you look on a painting and it's like 1 out of 100. That's essentially an NFT, but in a physical form. We're talking electronic.
Absolutely. And so I think another great example too is like, okay, so who cares? Well, there's no value in this fake weapons upgrade in a game, right? Like, I don't want to put any money behind that. Well, let's take it up a notch and say, let's say, speaking of Gary Vaynerchuk, right? He actually is about to release his NFT project, which was supposed to be yesterday, but he got some delayed on the tech issues, so he'll be releasing this week. Essentially, what he's doing is releasing a bunch of NFT tokens. And if you own one of these tokens, what it does is it allows you to have access to Gary Vaynerchuk and his products and services. So for instance, he's going to be putting on a massive conference that he wants to make the best conference in the world called VCon. And that's going to be happening annually every year for 2022 and beyond. So if you own one of these tokens, a particular token, you now have general admittance into his conference. Okay, that's just as much value as having the ticket in hand, right?
Absolutely. And you can be anywhere.
Right, absolutely. And so let's take it up a notch. What if you want one-on-one access with Gary Vaynerchuk? He's giving you a token so that you can redeem this token at some point in time to have breakfast or lunch or a one-on-one Zoom meeting with him. Okay, these are just a few examples of how these things work. So it's just to put a little bit of a perspective into what NFTs are and how they have just as much value as this chapstick that I'm holding over here, except for the fact I can't use an NFT to actually put chapstick on my lips. But still, NFT has utility just like this chapstick does for myself.
No, dude, absolutely, man. Especially the big thing that was screaming to me, and I think I remember listening to something with Gary Vee talking about NFTs, is that it buys you access. It's like if you want to play a video game, in an arcade, that token gives you access to the game. It's like with everything. So the future is crazy, man. I know we were talking before we started recording about how technology is growing. I heard it today in an inspirational motivational speech with some guy, and he was saying how every 18 months technology gets swapped out with something newer, and what was out 18 months ago is archaic. And I think that's just wild to think about, man. It's crazy.
No, and I was telling you about this earlier, man. It's like when we were kids, in elementary school, we had a computer class, right?
Absolutely.
Maybe that was intermediate. No, I think it was. We had maybe at least like 6th or 7th grade. We had
it's like learning how to type and the basic. Yeah, of course.
Learning how to type. Most of the time we're over there playing games, whatever we're doing.
Oh yeah.
And think about your child and your child's child, what they're going to be doing in 5th and 6th grade. I mean, it's going to be completely different. They're going to be understanding what the blockchain is and so on and so forth. And it's just crazy how fast this stuff moves. And so that's what inspired me so much about when this blockchain stuff came up, because man, this truly is a unique point in time that only happens like every 40, 50 years. And what I mean by that is in the late 80s, early 90s, you had the internet, and you had some crazy dude coming up to someone in the late 80s saying, I'm telling you, the internet, man, we're gonna make a bunch of money. We're going to be able to do, everything's going to be on the internet. And people would look at that person crazy. Like, dude, no, I'm not going to log on to Microsoft Word and do my whole life on it. But look where we're at today. We're doing absolutely everything. And so when we talk about the blockchain, bringing in the massive change to everything we do from a financial perspective, an e-commerce perspective, a digital perspective, social media perspective. I mean, literally, you and me and everyone else here listening who has a social media account will have their own NFT within less than 3 to 5 years, guaranteed.
Oh, dude, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ready Player One. Amy told me I had to watch it. And, you know, that was like a year ago, before NFTs and blockchain technology was anything I understood. But I remember watching that movie and I was like, man, imagine the future that if they really did something like that. If anyone's seen it, those little tokens, like where he redeems at the end, that is an NFT, the jacket that they're wearing and how he got that new suit, that's all NFTs. And to think, I mean, there's crypto out there, man. What is it's Decentraland. I don't know if you know about it. And for anyone listening, there is a cryptocurrency out there right now that you can buy, and the tokens are equivalent to data and like land for this Centraland. Like, we are in a pinnacle, like early time. And dude, I'm stupid enough, or actually, I'll say I'm stupid enough to buy like $20 of it just on the principle of like, why not? I mean, it was like what I did with Doge. Buy it as a joke, and then it becomes something serious, and you're like, oh, kind of onto something here, I think. So,
well, and from the perspective of social currency, right? When you think about influential figures in this world, Gary Vaynerchuk was a great example. But anyone, I mean, your favorite rapper, your favorite NASCAR driver, whatever it may be, your favorite Instagram influencer who convinces you to buy that facial wash, whatever it is, like, they have social currency in the sense that you watch them and what they do because you find value in what they produce.
Money.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now if we have social currency, why can't we encrypt it and monetize it? So now you want to have that access with that person, or you want to have access to particular projects that they put out. You're going to have to do it in a digital way. And the only way it's going is the way of the blockchain, because that's how we keep it protected and private and transparent. And so it's blowing my mind. I'm still learning so much about it. DeFi, decentralized finance, is a whole nother wave that's just going to take so much stuff by this. And here's what I wanted to make a quick connection to you on, Kyle, man, because what's crazy, what really hit me hard is when I'm reading this stuff and it's like starting to get more buzz, and I'm still noticing that most people don't know what the hell this stuff is, but still it's still getting a lot of mainstream talk. And then it's almost like I put my phone down, I turn off the podcast, I close the computer, I go back to work, I walk into Santander Bank, which is one of the biggest international banks in the world. I walk into Citibank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Capital One, and I talk to these engineers. And these engineers are telling me, yeah, we're working on a blockchain project to privatize a blockchain for our company that will allow our company to give basically digital currency that is only our own currency.
Wow.
So, you know, if you want to do transactions with Chase Bank, you're going to do it with a Chase token one day, right? They're working on that now. They have dozens of teams working on that who are being paid $140 an hour working on that now. And I'm talking to these people and I'm like, this is real.
You're like firsthand hearing it.
Yeah, that's when it hit me. I was like, man, I need to become literate in this, because coming back to the internet example, if what they're saying is true in terms of this being like the internet wave of the late 80s and early 90s, imagine being literate in it now.
This is a huge career opportunity, man, like for people. Like, I think that the opportunities are endless. And I think the big thing I'm getting from this is, like you're saying, be, technologically, proficient and learn this stuff, even just read about it. I think you even knowing what blockchain is, you're already one step ahead of, I'd say, like 60% of people out there, or maybe more. But I mean, like, even just having a basic knowledge, just start. I think this stuff is the future. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you talk about opportunities, coming back to the company that I'm partnering with, CrowdPoint Technologies. It's like you have your distributors who are bringing products into the platform. You have your resellers who are reselling these products on the platform. But there's one other piece, the technician piece, which, to be honest, man, it's such a huge advantage, even for the average Joe who is not, ready to jump into anything too hastily, which is, let's think about Uber, where I was given an app and I can log into this app at any time and choose when and how I want to take on jobs to go pick someone up and drop someone off. Think about that same type of location-based mobile app where I can log in as a digital technician and essentially assist people on the digital marketplace by being a customer service rep and helping them through any troubleshooting issues or just customer service type related tasks. And I can get paid per session, $45 per session. Per ticket closed, I'm paid $45 per session. Put a little simple math into that. Take it as an average workday, 8 hours a day. I'm not saying that every session has to last that long. Most sessions last 10, 20, 30 minutes, maybe. If you do only 8 sessions a day at $45 an hour, you're making about 6 figures a year. For most people, that's huge. That's huge. Just for Uber's not going to give you that, right? So this is something that I'm super excited about. And once everything gets really launched off, I'm just going to like hit the ground running in terms of trying to educate others on the types of opportunities that this company in particular is offering, but in general, the type of opportunities that blockchain is going to present to the everyday person, not just, the experts up in the tech space, but literally everyone. So that's what excites me, man.
So I think this is a good way for me to transition. So with technology and all that, I know you were talking about, or I was talking about earlier, that you're very well versed in is, dude, emotional intelligence. How do you see technology and all that in the future with what's going on? Because I feel like our society has drastically changed with the use of technology, both good and bad. I mean, if you were listening to my other episode before you, my buddy is a firefighter. He was saying like they can't post as much anymore, and same with the Coast Guard. We can't get away with a lot anymore because of the use of technology and the phones now. And they're so accessible. Everyone has one, to where there's so much oversight to where you can't get away with that. And that's also part of the whole thing right now. With you have all these kids getting ADHD and ADD now because of TikTok. And the instant, why don't I have 10 likes? I just posted it. Why don't I have 100 views? It was just 5 minutes ago. Like, it is creating a craze inside of people emotionally. And dude, I'd love to hear just your take on that whole spectrum. First, what is emotional intelligence for everyone out there who doesn't know about it? And how do you see it going in the future?
Well, I'll tell it this way. Emotional intelligence there's a lot of different words to it. And for me, it's everything, because most people don't get the type of life experiences that are required to develop a good foundation of emotional intelligence.
Sure.
And so it's something that has to be trained. It has to be taught and developed, and it can be, which is the exciting part. I'll keep it very simple, man. Emotional intelligence is making emotions work for you rather than against you. We all have emotions.
Okay. Yeah.
We're human. We're supposed to have these emotions. People try to categorize certain emotions as good and as bad. That is not real. Feeling sad, feeling angry is not wrong to do. Okay? Feeling depressed is not wrong to do. But how do we manage a particular emotion so that it works most effectively for ourselves and the goals that we hold? That's where emotional intelligence comes. So we look at personality. Personality traits are generally something that we have for a long period of our lives. They don't really change. They are static in that way. Emotional intelligence traits are dynamic. They very much can change and can be different at any given moment in time based on what experiences you're having in life, right? So when I'm a certified practitioner in emotional intelligence development, I went out, got that certification. I started trying to practice it on myself, as well as some people were, willing to allow me to practice with them and help develop them, which is a cool experience. But essentially, when we're trying to develop emotional intelligence, what we do is we look at something like, let's say, self-management, right?
Okay.
The ability to be able to have an event happen, be aware of the emotions that come in reaction to that event, and then use our own mechanisms to manage the emotional response of that. So let's say, Kyle, you get on here and you're like, Hunter, I want to be honest with you, you're an idiot. Okay. And I can take that many ways. I can take that and say, man, like, F you, Kyle, like, you suck, you're an idiot, you're not cool, let's cancel this podcast, I'm gone. Absolutely. I could take it like, oh, you know what, you're right, Kyle, I am an idiot, like, I'm dumb. I know there's so many things in my life that point towards the fact that I am dumb. I haven't been able to accomplish so much. I suck, you're right. Or I can say, you know what, Kyle, there are some things I'm stupid at, but there are some things I'm pretty smart at. And so I'm gonna take yours both ways, and I'm gonna be responsible with my emotion and say, hey, you're probably joking with me or something like that. It's all good. And even if you're not joking, I'm not gonna let this affect me for too long. So those are just very basic examples of social and emotional learning and intelligence. And these things can actually be developed. And that's what's the craziest part, is people think that, oh, you're just kind of naturally good at that or not so good at that. No, there are exercises that we can do on a daily or weekly or monthly basis that help exercise that mind to heart muscle and put us in a position where we're becoming more aware of our emotional triggers, so that we can continue to manage more effectively our emotional responses. And this has been everything for me, man. That and faith and God has been absolutely everything for me in terms of navigating through this world, through my work, through my relationships, through everything.
That's awesome, man. No, yeah. Especially during this COVID crisis. This China virus. Dude, it's been really interesting. And how has that even affected you? Now I'm thinking about it. How's it affected you, like, work-wise? Or do you guys work remotely right now, or like, what's that like?
We did for about a year, man. And our company just went back to the office this past Monday. There are certain aspects, right? There's going to be people who don't feel comfortable medically that can prove that they don't want to come back to the office, or they live with vulnerable family members. Maybe they're not going to have to be, permitted. And then there's people who are like kind of above their growth lines, doing very well, who can kind of pick and choose. Hey, I'll come into the office 2-3 days a week, but still work from home. That's where I'm at. I have thoroughly enjoyed being able to work from home, be with my wife, have that freedom. I'm the type of person where I became more successful working from home. I had better productivity because I got to pick and choose how I handled my day, and it really helped me out. And so they gave me that flexibility to work from home 2-3 days a week, which has been super nice.
That's awesome. Because I was looking online, and that, I feel like what you just said ties into even, I did a little research on this emotional intelligence stuff, and I feel like those are key. I guess the 5 elements of emotional intelligence are self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. And I feel like you embody a lot of those, man. And I think even for you to be self-aware like that and just say like, hey, like, I had a good run in the office, but I see what this last year's done for me professionally, personally, spiritually. And I like, having that regulated schedule, like, I know if I get this objective done or that done, then this will gratify me. This will give me a motivation to keep going, in the things that I'm
Let's be
passionate about.
honest, man. If you're not spending 30 minutes to an hour commuting to work and another 30 minutes to an hour commuting from to home, you're getting approximately a couple of hours more work time, right?
Absolutely. Oh, dude, of course.
And the fact of the matter is, my clients are not at their client site either. So I'm now not having to spend 2-3 hours of my day going back and forth between the client site, going to meetings. I'm logging on to Zoom. So the amount of time saved just went from like 1 to 5 hours per day. That's huge. And so now I can fit my scheduling into mine, still be able to eat a full breakfast, eat a full lunch, spend time with my wife, like do my thing, stretch in the morning, meditate, do those things and still have a really productive day. And coming back to the emotional intelligence piece, because you were talking about kids, it's so important, man. And like kids aren't really taught in school how to become aware, how to manage their emotions, how to manage social relationships. It's all kind of just taught through experiences, but we're not being actively taught through a framework. And there are schools who are now doing that, and it's incredible the results that they're having. Like,
Oh yeah, we're looking at those right now.
Oh, you are?
Oh yeah.
I'm so happy for you, man. Because honestly, it's not only the social skills and the personal development skills that they develop, but they're already showing that every $1 invested into these social and emotional programs is a return on investment of $11. And why they're figuring that out is they're not only doing good personally, they're literally doing better academically too.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
It's a no-brainer.
Better scholarships, better later in life.
100%. Like, it's crazy. And whoever's not hopping on it now is going to be left behind. So,
well, and I will say though too, that is all based on your background, if you can afford it or not. And you're right. And here in Miami, we're looking at it from the stance of like, there's a kids care down the road, and I'm really big on, dude. I've been telling Amy, especially with her as a teacher, I was like, I would love for us to financially be set one day or stable enough to where you could be a stay-at-home mom and homeschool our kids. Like, I think with the way the education system is going, man, and what you're saying right now with this, like just teaching this emotional intelligence and teaching just good behavior and being a good person, I feel like it's so important, man. And you can't put a penny on that. You're right. What's $1 to $11? You're right. You're like, would you rather have $1 or $11? You'd want it's a no-brainer, right? So it should be no different with your child's education, man. I know Montessori is really cool.
And there's a very basic example that I always tell to put it in perspective for parents, because I got certified in positive discipline for children too. I'm just interested in this shit. I don't have kids yet, but once I do, I feel like, I've got a framework, I've got these resources to go back to hopefully, be effective in the way that I want to. But let's say a kid is tying a shoe and he or she fails at tying his or her shoe, and he starts crying, and you go up to him and say, don't cry, do it again. Like, come on, we got to go. We got to get in the car. We got to get going. Tie your shoe. Just do it. Make it happen. Or better yet, you're like, we got to go. Let me tie your shoe for you. Done. Gone. What you just did is you just subconsciously put into that kid's conscious that either A, I'm not allowed to try myself. B, I am incapable of doing this myself. That's the lesson you taught. So you thought you taught them a lesson on time. We got to hurry up. What the only thing they learned was I'm incapable, or I shouldn't even be trying. Wow. And that's the crazy part. That's the impactful part that we don't see. So a better response is, don't worry, try again. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many different ways that we can learn to speak to our kids. And I could go on a long list of book resources, man. I will hit you up.
Hit me with some stuff. I'll start posting it this week, dude. As we are getting your podcast up, dude. Send it all my way. One quick thing I meant to ask you earlier is, what is like the one thing that's always in your head? You're like, that was a really rewarding thing for me.
Honestly, when people used to ask me that early
Mhm.
on, I would say, well, it's actually really rewarding, and it still is, to put people who don't have a job into a job. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Making connections with people who are looking for jobs and setting them up with a career that they are happy about. I talk with these people on a daily basis, whether they're high level IT engineers, or maybe they're just kind of mid-level project managers, or maybe they're just out of graduate school trying to get their first data analyst job. Like, getting them suited up with the job that they wanted is a good feeling to me. But I'll be honest, I think that the most rewarding part for me intrinsically comes from when I'm having these conversations with these technical leaders, and I'm talking about directors, senior directors, VPs, senior managers, and they're telling me their problem statements about how they're having trouble developing a solution for a mobile app or a website, or developing data pipelines so that they can transfer data into the cloud, whatever it may be. And I'm able to hook up with my team, get that information downloaded, discover a little bit in that project scope, and then deliver a solution, whether that be through our own engineering solutions or by finding the right people in the market to get it done. And it gets done, and yeah, the money comes in, but like, it's cool when they come back and tell me, like, I wasn't finding what you gave us, and what you gave us worked excellent. Thank you so much. We appreciate your work. Looking forward to working with you again. That's what I
Huge.
do, and it feels good when we get that recognition for that.
That's awesome. Um, Another question I meant to ask you earlier is hearing all these stories and all these things with you, man. Like, if you could go back to, let's talk 10 years, man. I mean, that's 10-year anniversaries this year. If you could go back to your high school 18-year-old self, tall, skinny, you were freaking playing tennis,
Still tall and skinny.
still tall and skinny, man, with that Letterman jacket. What would you tell yourself? Like, dude, what would you tell yourself, bro? Like, I think about this question for myself all the time. Like,
Yeah.
what would you go back, older Hunter, tell your young self?
This question always gets me, man, because to be honest, I feel like whatever we think we would have told ourselves probably was told to us by someone, our parents, a friend, a mentor, a coach, and we didn't listen. Or at least it sunk in a little bit, but we didn't utilize it till later. You know what I mean? So I think the question is always funny, like, what would you tell yourself? Well, whatever I would actually use at the time is what I hope I would tell myself. But if I have to answer the question, be more curious, and make friends. I went through a period of my life where I went super inward, and I'm talking more like college now, like sophomore year, man. I really went through a phase where I was going so far inward, exploring religions, the meaning of life, my happiness, all these things, trying to find out what the hell I'm doing here and what the reason of it all is. And although I needed that, I needed time alone to find myself a little bit. I still wish that even earlier, before that, and throughout college, up until this point, that I sought out, I networked more, I made more friends, I was more open to just meeting and having more interesting conversations. I did a little bit of that, but then there's nothing more powerful than the friends that you have and the people that you know. Because now I'm at a point where, like, okay, I'm trying to build something, and now I've got to do all that and catch up. I've got to meet more people. I've got to make more friends. I got to do all that stuff, and we're at a time where we can do that. But that's the biggest advice I would give to any younger person, even myself. Just do what you're interested in. Yes, have fun, but be uncomfortable by meeting people and making new friends. That's it.
That's that's spot on, man. And I think we talked about it the other day, dude. Like, that's my whole mission and plan, with this podcast, dude, is I really, I'm at a spot in my life. I'll just be honest while we're talking, dude. Like, I'm transferring out of the military in, less than a year. I've really prayed about it, and I've been really trying to figure out, what do I want to do with my life? I've been in going on 9 years, dude. Crazy, right?
That is crazy.
9 years. And
I still remember you as you were when you first went in. Like, that's what's crazy about it.
Yeah, dude, it seems like yesterday. And a lot of people are like, why don't you just stick it out, 10 more years? It's only 10 more years. And that's fine for some people. But for me, I'm like, I got so many different thoughts outside of the Coast Guard to where it's not fair for the Coast Guard for me to still be active duty when my mind isn't completely in like long-term wise. Like I'm thinking, man, I'm gonna make this podcast. This is totally for me. Like I love this stuff.
Yeah.
I want to get into sales. I want to get into, I just applied for the fire department. There's so many different things that I could see myself doing. And I know I'm not the only person in that. And so,
100%.
I
think the majority of people are in the area of, what do I do next, more than there are people who are like, I know what I need to do.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, I mean, I referenced my father-in-law, and I really have to give him credit, to a lot of this. He was the one that, I was telling him, I was like, Mr. Gary, like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I know I want to get out. I know that is something I am passionate about doing. I want to make more money for my family. I want to settle down. I don't really know what I want to do. I know there's a lot of things I'm kind of good at, or I can be good at. There's not one thing that I'm passionate about. And I remember him saying, he's like, well, Kyle, he's like, when I was your age, I just started working for Hydrochem. And he's like, before I got that job, what I did was I asked a lot of people about what they did. And I started meeting all these different people with different jobs that either one was interested in or one I wasn't interested in. And through that, you kind of build a worldview of what you like. And
yeah,
I was running with Nora after listening to Gary Vee. And he was like, make a podcast. And I was like, I'm not an influencer. But then I was running with my daughter, and it hit me. I was like, make a podcast about talking to people about what they're passionate about, what they're doing in their life, and what makes them happy. Because at the end of the day, man, that is the most important aspect. It's finding your passion and being happy. Man, money will come, or it won't, and that's all okay. Like, am I expecting to be a millionaire off this podcast? Well, not right now, but maybe one day. If it grows, you just got to be passionate about it. Money is the least of all worries, but you need it as a tool.
Man, I 100% agree. And the one thing that I've told my wife so many times, and I'll tell anyone else, like, people get really scared about trying something new because they're scared that they're not passionate enough about it, or they're not good enough at it. And eventually they'll leave it and quit. And the fear of eventually quitting something is what keeps them from trying it in the first place. And I think that's so funny, or curious, I guess, because first of all, how do you know that you actually are good at something until you really try it? Number one. Number two, how do you develop a passion for anything until you try it? And number three, what's really important here is, for the example of your podcast, right? You try this podcast out. Let's say it keeps going for years and years, and you do become a millionaire off a podcast, and your whole life is feeling great, and it's good, and it's awesome. But let's say you do it for about a year, or a year and 6 months. And through the conversations that you're having, or the experience that you're getting through the podcast, you find something else that leads you to another path that you would not have found had you not had tried this podcast. That alone is worth it, to do the podcast, to then find something else that you're gonna keep going towards. And I was talking about with this before, is like, that's how I feel with my life, in terms of, man, I was a freaking dude. I made some tracks with you back in the day,
bro,
in terms of hip hop music, like crazy. Actually,
we used to freestyle, yeah. Dude, you remember we used to freestyle at parties, dude? What was your rap? It was like high C, right?
I see, man.
Bro, it was high C, and I was K Killer, bro. I still get roasted about that name, dude.
Do you?
Oh,
let them hate, bro.
Dude,
hey, we had the most fire music out of everyone in the high school, though, because nobody else is doing it. You want to know why? They were scared. People wanted to do it, but they were scared.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling out names, but my point is, I did music, and I did it up until the point where it made sense to do it. until I found something else that made me passionate. And then I went and did that. And then I found something else that made me passionate. And then I went and did that. And then I found something else. And now I'm doing that. And who knows what I'm going to be doing in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But I know that I'm on the right path because I keep doing things enough and deeply enough until I find something to keep going or find something new. So that's the only way you can do it.
So let me challenge you with this, I guess, devil's advocate question. And it's a question that I battle with all the time. Because I agree with everything you're saying. You know, follow your passion, it brings you to another passion and so on. That happened to me too. But my question that I ask myself a lot is, when do you know that that's the passion that you need to stick with? And when, like, for example, did you need to go on tour with music one day for it to be, okay, this is, I think I found my passion. Do you need, did you need to be a Collabera for them to make you the chairman of the, you know, committee for you to be like, I think this is my passion? So like my question is, and I dude, it's just how my brain works, but I ask this all my, like, is there a ceiling? Is there not supposed to be a ceiling? Like, when do you know in your heart of hearts, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Well, I'll say it like this, and you already answered your own question, and it's not going to be necessarily the answer that you want. It's not like a yes or no answer,
Sure.
But you said it's in your heart of hearts, right? Ultimately, discernment gifted to us by God is what allows us to make these types of decisions.
Preach it, brother. So
let me hit you with some preach.
Yeah, give me it.
You know, whenever we're navigating through life, man, I was in Dallas. I was still doing music. I was doing shows almost every weekend. I was creating music, and I thought, I was like, look, this is it. Like, I have to go hard. I got to eventually build up a brand enough, make good enough music to go on a little tour, do my thing. I got to start making money from this. Sure. I was in that space. And then I met a girl. Changed my life. Ooh. She filled a void that music was filling for me at that time. And whatever that void was, she filled it for me. And I realized, I don't really feel like I need to make music today. Wow. And then when that feeling hit, it confused me. You know, I was still dating her for a while before making the decision to quit. I would talk with her about it. And it wasn't until months later that I had the realization that I was like, oh, it was you. It was you that made me get to the point where I finally felt like I didn't need to do this anymore. And I prayed about it, man. And you pray about it and you go through life. And eventually, if you trust in your heart, you trust in your relationship with God, the discernment gets gifted to you, and you will be able to make that decision. Okay, I don't need to do this anymore, or I will keep going on this. I've made this a post before. I think I posted on Facebook years ago. I said, the hardest thing in life is knowing if God is telling you to quit or to keep going. And it's true. I still think that's one of the hardest things today. But if we continue to ask for that blessing of discernment and be as truthful to ourselves as we possibly can, then that decision will come into your heart and you'll be able to navigate it for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hunter Carrithers coming in with it.
Let's go.
Dude, no, I don't even know what to say to that. I agree. Yeah, it was more or less just me posing the question. You're right. And I mean, discernment is huge. I'm a big believer in that.
No, but the important factor is it took me 2-3 months before I really made that decision, right?
Yeah.
So for some people, it'll hit you right there. Some people, it takes a little time. You just got to keep moving.
Dude, I kind of want to give the floor to you. Anything you want to say to anyone out there? You know, give us your Instagram, how we can get a hold of you. Are you on LinkedIn? Like,
all right, here we go. I'll say shout out to
the final pitch.
My wife, because she cooked dinner for me, and it's probably she's probably a little upset that it's cold. But you know, shout out to her for being flexible and patient with me. So you know that I'm on this journey right now with blockchain and what I'm doing. And so I've kind of stopped posting as much online about my usual stuff, which is health and wellness and regenerative agriculture, not because I'm not still looking into those things and practicing those things. I'm just much more focused on what I'm doing with blockchain right now. So You can follow me at Hunter_Carrithers, I think it is, on Instagram.
I'll put it down below. Yeah.
Okay. And then I also created a new account recently called Digital Oil Hunter. And just as it sounds, Digital Oil Hunter, I created that to simply start making content about blockchain and cryptocurrency, just to help me continue to research and learn, but educate others as well. And through that platform, as well as my other accounts, I'm going to continue to start putting out a lot of the opportunities that I'm involved in and how other people can get involved in as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it, man. As far as telling anyone anything, I don't know. I'm no expert. I'm just a guy out here living, but I can tell you one thing: the more you give, the more you get. And just be kind, love everyone. And I don't want to sound like some spiritual leader, because everyone has their days, and I'm not perfect by any means, but I can tell you I've started to live a lot better of a life when I took that stuff seriously. Just give as much as you can, and I promise you, the universe, God, whoever you want to call it, will take care of you, and you'll get what you need. That's it.
Dude, Hunter, thank you so much for stopping by today, man. This means a lot to me, especially as I'm still new in this this journey. So
Dude, I'm pleasure, absolutely honored to be here, my brother. I love the ground level, the dirt. I like to be here early on. So thank you.
You'll be back on, man. I know it.
Well, I hope so.
So guys, everyone who's been watching, I appreciate you watching this episode with Hunter Carrithers. And this is Dude, I Want That Job.
Dude, I want that job.
Guys, thanks so much for tuning in today to Dude, I Want That Job, the educational podcast to help you find your desire and passion through other people's job experiences.